Welcome to the Fire Health and Safety Virtual In-Service. During this in-service, we will go over what a fire health and safety inspection actually is. We will also give some tips on what to look for when completing inspections. A fire health and safety inspection is a visual inspection of the residential spaces on our campus. These inspections are meant for us to put our eyes in each room and to make sure that prohibited items are not present. The explanation of why each item is on the list is lengthy, so we have broken down this list in a quick and easy way for you to master. We do not allow animals, especially bears, in our residential spaces. The exceptions to this rule are non-carnivorous fish in 10-gallon tanks or an approved emotional support animal. Refrigerators the size of ones found in our homes are not allowed in our residential spaces. Students should have mini fridges like the ones found at Walmart in the college section. Microwave ovens are also prohibited. Microwaves, like the ones found in Target, Walmart, or similar stores, are allowed in our residential spaces. When in doubt, the microwave should not look like it could cook a whole turkey. We have air conditioning in all of our residential spaces. Students are not allowed to have window AC units or portable AC units in their room. In each of these cases, the prohibited version of the device would put too great of a strain on our building's electrical system and cause circuit breakers to trip and pose a safety hazard to our residents. Since we just spoke about the AC units in our buildings, let us also explain that covering these units is prohibited as well. Vents on these units need to have airflow to function properly. When the heat is eventually activated in our buildings, we do not want any issues with items getting too hot and potentially causing fires. Unfortunately, our residents sometimes find themselves in possession of property that does not truly belong to them. Examples of these items are road signs, lounge furniture such as chairs or tables, and dining hall cups, plates, and utensils. As a note, road signs do not fulfill their purpose when placed on someone's wall and not on the road for drivers to acknowledge. As much as we all love the Food Network, we simply cannot have the same appliances in our residential spaces. Items such as George Foreman grills, toasters, deep fryers, and melted chocolate fountains are examples of prohibited items in our main campus residential spaces. Our apartment communities have the luxury of allowing some of these items, such as George Foreman grills. Please refer to page 84 and 85 of the Longwood University Student Handbook for a comprehensive list of allowed and prohibited items in our main campus and apartment communities. This list is also available in this module on campus. In our society today, we need more outlets to plug in all of our devices, and sometimes the outlets we do have are not in the best location for our room setup, requiring us to get extension cords. Unfortunately, extension cords are not allowed. Power strips that have an on-off switch are allowed, but cannot be daisy-chained. Daisy-chaining is when a power strip is connected to another power strip. Pro tip number 1. Lowe's in Farmville and Amazon.com sell approved power strips with long cords. Have your residents look into them if they find themselves in need of a longer power strip. Privacy is always a concern of our residents. With this being said, the university has locks on all of the doors that should have them. Residents are not allowed to install their own locks on any door. This does not prohibit the use of personal locks for the suites and the high-rises, and on any personal belongings such as a chest. When speaking about installing personal items, we also need to touch base on certain items that residents like to tamper with. For safety and security purposes, all peepholes and room numbers and labels, such as the A room on a door in the apartments, need to be properly maintained. Residents cannot remove these items or tamper with them. If the item is damaged or not functioning in its intended capacity, make sure a work order is placed to correct the issue. Those pretty white circles in the ceilings of our residential spaces actually serve a purpose, saving lives. They cannot function in their intended manner if students have tampered with them. You might come across a smoke detector with a bag or shower cap placed over it, or it might be removed from the ceiling altogether. In any case, the smoke detector needs to be free from items and in its proper location so it can detect when someone cooks Easy Mac without water, and it can sound its lovely little alarm. Everyone likes to make their room into more of a home than 4 walls with some furniture in it. We encourage residents to express themselves creatively when decorating their rooms, but there are limits to this creativity. In our residential spaces, only 10% of the wall can be covered. Having a few items on the wall is fine, but when you cannot visually see the wall because of the items on it, we have a fire safety issue. An exception to this rule are items that are behind glass frames, such as a framed diploma or picture, as well as items that are marked as fire retardant. They do not count towards the 10% rule. Lighting is also provided in all of our residential spaces, yet students always feel the need to add string lights to brighten up the atmosphere. This is a wonderful thought as long as there are not more than 3 strands hooked together and the lights are flush against the wall. The string lights should not resemble power lines draping from wall to wall. Ceilings are also places that students want to decorate, and for some reason, they like to hang items from sprinkler heads as well. As ingenious as these hanging items are, they are not allowed and pose a safety hazard to our residents. Nature is a wonderful thing, but it belongs in nature, not in our residential spaces. Fresh cut greenery, such as a tree for the holidays, or large plants are not allowed. These pieces of nature can easily catch fire and pose a hazard to our residents. Exceptions to these rules are small potted plants. Essentially, we don't want full-size trees in our residential spaces, but small plants are allowed. Ceiling tiles are meant to hide all of the pipes and wires from our residents and need to be properly installed. Pro tip number 2. If a ceiling tile is out of place, a resident might be hiding something in the ceiling. In the event of a fire or other emergency, residents need to be able to exit their residential space and arrive at a safe location. This is impossible to do when items obstruct their exit from the residential space. Also, if it appears that an episode of Hoarders could be filmed in this residential space, a violation has occurred. Halogen bulbs are a thing of the past. We no longer need to shake bulbs in order to make sure they are actually not working. Fluorescent bulbs are allowed in lamps our residents bring with them to college. Also, students should not be replacing the bulbs in their rooms themselves. Work orders can be placed to replace bulbs when they cease to function. We understand that square footage is tight in our residential spaces, and lofts are a great way to make the most of the square footage provided. And while we provide students with a third-party vendor to rent or buy lofts, sometimes they like to bring their own. These homemade lofts need to be approved by RCL and Environmental Health and Safety to ensure that they are safe to use in our residential spaces. When talking about our residential spaces, furniture is provided by the university for students to use. If a room has extra pieces of university furniture, such as an extra mattress or dresser, the items need to be returned from where they came. Sometimes our students feel the need to change the ambiance of their residential space by lighting candles. As great as this sounds, they are prohibited for fire safety reasons. If you come across a candle, it is a violation, even if it has never been lit. Students are more than welcome to use electric candles if they want to add flair to their space. Pro tip number 3. Incense is also prohibited. Essentially, if you need to light it on fire to work, we cannot have it in our residential spaces. During fire health and safety inspections, you might come across alcohol, drugs, and/or weapons. In the case of alcohol, it is prohibited in dry residential spaces, as well as any space where the occupants are not 21 years of age. If drugs and/or weapons are found, LUPD and the REC on call need to be notified immediately. Pro tip number 4. Regardless of age, bottles of alcohol cannot be used for decorative purposes in our residential spaces. With the exception of alcohol, weapon, and drug violations, residents are given 48 hours to fix the violation in their residential space. This is the end of the Fire Health and Safety virtual in-service. Please refer to the next video in the module to learn how to complete inspections in Mercury.